The U.S. Endangered Species Act, also called the ASA, was signed into law by President Richard Nixon on December 28 of 1973 as a way to provide protection of species and their ecosystem. The ASA is one of the strongest and most controversial federal environmental law in the United States. It has caused real conflicts between those promoting species preservation and those promoting economic activity. But now that it's been more than 45 years, how is the Act doing? Is it really effective? If we do some research online, we find quite opposite opinions. One side claimed that more than 99% of the species protected by the ASA avoided extinction. The other side claimed that the ASA has failed as only 2% of the species listed have been fully recovered and delisted. However, these arguments come from opponents with obvious competing interests. So what is it exactly? Let's have a look at some of the strengths and weaknesses of the ASA first, and then we'll have a look at the effectiveness of the Act. The ASA allows to identify impaired species and provide protection to these species, as well as protection to their ecosystem. It does help to raise awareness and does provide a legal framework. However, the ASA also got some important weaknesses. First, the listing program is underfunded and therefore listing delays can be quite important. A study conducted by Morgan F. and al. Pointed out that the longer a species is listed and subject to the regulation it takes, the more likely it is to be improving and the less likely it is to be declining, suggesting that the ASA Conservation Measure act cumulatively over time. Therefore, impaired species should be listed under the ASA as soon as possible. Secondly, there is no clear method to assess the performance of the ASA. Therefore, how do we consider the ASA to be effective? And finally, there is a lack of funding. More funding is necessary to improve the listing delays and to allow more recovery actions to be done. But, is the ASA working? Well, as there's no clear method to assess the performance of the ASA, this is one of the reasons why we see such opposite opinion about this question. Opponent of the ASA often claims that the law is a total failure because only 2% of the listed species have been fully recovered and delisted. However, the number of delisted species is a poor measure of the success of the ASA, as most species have not been protected for long enough to fully recover. On the other hand, multiple studies agree that the ASA is effectively stabilizing or improving the status of species. Also, more species have been delisted due to recovery action rather than extinction. Therefore, we can say that yes, the ASA is effective. Finally, the ASA is not perfect and does have some weaknesses that would need to be fixed in the future, but it does help to protect species. However, recently Trump administration has proposed some change that would weaken the ASA. This would, among other things, allow the federal government to favor economic impacts and make it easier for companies to exploit federally protected land. The government has given 60 days to anyone who would like to comment on the change, and more than 10,000 of comments have been submitted. Critics do not seem happy about this modification. Let's just hope that Trump's government will take into account the comments before changing anything.